So part 1 and 2 is focused on collecting and tracking product feedback. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Henson, and he'll take over from here for these two.
So you should be able to see this PowerPoint slide I'm showing right now. So I'm going to focus on showing sellers how to research your product feedback and how to gather these feedback, not just from products you're currently selling, but products from your competitors. Some of the most important things, when determining when to sell a product or what products to sell is to figure out first what kind of products are on the market. And Amazon has pretty much every single product available out there. So you want to do your due diligence and investigate and search those products and see what your competitors are doing and see how well they're doing. And then collecting that information from there and then seeing how you can actually improve the product. So I'm going to show you how we can do this. So these are kind of the things I'm going to cover over. So first, learning from existing products in the market. Why you need to actually research similar products that already are selling on Amazon. Everybody knows selling on Amazon is not that easy, right? And especially it takes a lot of money to launch a product these days. So you got to make sure that you're actually investing in the right product. And sometimes products, you might research a competitor product and you see that, they have a lot of reviews already and, a lot of good ratings. And you might want to determine, is this really a product I want to get into, right? And how many other sellers are selling it? Or you might find a really good product or a really great concept and then notice that there's not that many people selling it, or let's say there are people selling it, but the reviews are bad, right? And then how can you actually get this data and how can you analyze it to see how you can improve those reviews? So the first thing you really want to do is figure out what products are currently being sold on Amazon that you're interested in, and then gathering this data. And I'll show you in a second on how FeedbackWhiz can actually get this data for you. And then from the actual reviews written on these products is where you want to try to identify some of the keywords that the customers are using to describe, either the good experience or bad experience of the product. Actually, most of the information you can get is actually from the negative product reviews, because the negative product reviews actually tell you what's wrong with the products, right? The pluses of the product you probably already know because your supplier might be selling something similar already. But what you really want to focus on is how to improve this product, right? What are the competitors not doing? What do they not have? And then figure out if you can actually improve it, right? And then from there, you got to figure out, all right, can my supplier actually improve it? Like how much is it going to cost? And then and take all that data together and then see if it's actually worth selling. If it's worth doing it, then you should go for it. So these are the main key points on how to use this data to leverage on launching a new product. Now with FeedbackWhiz, how can we actually help you? People probably know FeedbackWhiz more as a tool to send out review requests through emails to get more reviews. But the other side of our platform really is we can monitor all these reviews that come in. And it's not just the products that you're currently selling, but we can monitor reviews from any ASIN sold across any of the Amazon marketplaces. So it doesn't just have to be Amazon.com. It could be, the European Amazon. It could be Australia, Japan. There's a lot of marketplaces where there's a lot of opportunity to sell new products. The Amazon.com marketplace, of course, is the largest marketplace, but it's also the most saturated marketplace, meaning that you're going to have a lot of competition. So you really want to see if you can branch out to some of these foreign marketplaces, right? And a lot of foreign marketplaces have reviews of products and sometimes they don't, right? So you can see if there's an opportunity there. Now with FeedbackWhiz, our platform you can actually upload a whole list of ASINs and we'll extract all that information for you, and we'll actually go back to the last 6 months, and you can take this information, you can sort it by star ratings, you can filter out only the negative reviews or filter out only the positive reviews, you can group them by product, you can search keywords, which I'll talk about in a second, on like what words you can actually search for depending on your product. And then you can actually download all this information into a CSV file. So, using Excel, you can do more advanced filtering. It saves all the product review information, because many times what happens on Amazon is the reviews disappear, they get removed. But you can collect all this data, save it to your computer for future reference. And anytime any reviews come in, let's say you're monitoring your competitors' reviews or products, you can get notifications when these reviews come in. So right away, you'll know when reviews come in, and you can, if you're selling your own products, then the benefit is that you can respond to these negative reviews right away and comment on it to help build confidence for new sellers that are researching your product. So these are the main key points. And basically, let me go into our platform right now and show you how we actually can harvest all this data and help you analyze it. So let me switch my screen share to, okay. So now you should see our FeedbackWhiz platform, and this is just our main dashboard. It gives you some overview data. But in this webinar, I'm going to be concentrating more on the product side. So for our products page to get there, we have to go to the product monitoring section. So in this part of the platform, what you're basically doing is if you have a Seller Central account, then by default, we'll sync all your data from your inventory into our platform. So we know exactly what products you have that are inside your inventory. But let's say you want to use this platform in order to monitor your competitor products. In this case, what you can do is you can use the import ASIN function or the bulk monitor function, and you can just copy and paste the ASINs you want to monitor into our platform. So they don't actually have to be products that you're currently selling. Now the import ASIN function, what it does is it'll just import it into the product list side. Doesn't mean you're monitoring it. If you use the bulk monitor option, what this does is it will import all of the reviews or all the ASINs to monitor automatically. So once you figure out which products you want to monitor and you put it on this side, you just save it. And FeedbackWhiz will start grabbing these reviews, and our review frequency right now is 4 times a day. And based on how fast you need it, we can customize that time for you as well. So once you got this set up, we'll start pulling the reviews. And this is where I'll go into the product review manager and show you when these reviews populate. So the main advantage of this platform is that you no longer have to scroll through like all different pages, all different ASINs to read all your reviews. These reviews will come in by time, and you can see the review date. You can see like the details. Gives you some analytics, and you can see exactly what the ratings are and what they wrote about those reviews. And from here, we have things where you can filter by product name, by ASIN, SKU, keywords, and you can filter by time too. So by default, when you import a new ASIN to monitor, we will pull the last 6 months of reviews for you. So you can actually go back and read all those past reviews as well. And then you can filter by star rating. You can write yourself internal notes. And there's action buttons where it'll take you directly to the Amazon review itself. So if you actually want to read it, it'll show you exactly where the review is. And as a seller, if it's your own product, then you can come in here and comment on the review, which helps a lot, and which most sellers do anyways. And the other view here is to group by product. So you can actually view all the reviews by product in one screen. So if you want to see all the all the reviews for this tablet, then you can just go and scroll and view all the reviews. Now, what I talked about earlier was researching this data. Now, usually you want to research all the star ratings, right? But let's just say you want to figure out what's the problem with this product. So you can probably just search by 1 and 2 star rating. So now what our platform does is it will actually sort out by just the 1 and 2 stars. And then as a high level overview in the last 30 days, you can see these are all the reviews that come in, and you can see the title and what the actual content is. And here you can see like, this product has problems like it's dead or useless or needs repairs, things like that, right? So this is how you can gather this information on whatever product you're trying to sell, and then figure out what's the flaws of this product and how I can improve it. And you can also go search by keywords. And keywords is important because there are certain trigger words where a lot of sellers will use, or sorry, not a lot of buyers will use to describe in their product reviews. And it really depends on the product you're selling. Like if you're selling electronics, you might be searching the word charge or damage or broken, right? If you're selling like clothing, you might be searching words like fitment or quality or things like that. So the keyword is really important based on the product you're searching. So for example, here, if I'm trying to search a keyword like broken, then I can just type in broken in here, and it will search for all the reviews that have the word broken based on my filters. So it might take a few seconds, but it should pop out. And what you want to do is you want to see like what's the frequency of these words that are being used. If it's being used on every single product, then obviously you might want to try a different word. But if there's certain keywords that you feel like that might actually help you improve these products, like fake would be one of the good words you could use, because there's a lot of fake reviews on Amazon. Or broken, it would be the word I chose in the last 30 days, and I can see that only one of the products had the word broken. So it really depends on what keyword you use, but this is a very powerful feature, and it's really good for sellers to quickly identify problems with their products. So this is kind of what I would suggest you use. And of course, you can also search by other things, but the main mechanism here is really to use this product review manager to help you save time, because you don't have to go through all the pages. You don't have to click on all the different products. You can actually just find in everything just by importing the ASIN in here, and you can review and read everything all at once. So, so that's pretty much what I'm trying to cover on this side. Now with FeedbackWhiz, there's a lot of other things you can do as well, but in terms of product research feedback, this would be, I would say this is the best thing you can utilize on. We also have a feedback page here, and this page is more for seller feedback. So you can also gather some information from this page as well, but seller feedback is more pertaining to the seller experience. But a lot of times, buyers don't really understand the difference between seller feedback and product reviews. So a lot of times product reviews do end up here. So you can also use this as a resource if you're already selling the product, and you can read your own feedback from your product itself. But I would say the main value of using FeedbackWhiz for product research is really to use the product review manager and importing the ASINs of your competitor products or products you're interested in. Doesn't matter which marketplace, but using that information and that data to help you improve your products. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a report section here we have as well. So you can actually download all the review reports for all the reviews you're monitoring. So if you want to go back 6 months or a year or 2 years, however much data we've already synced into your account, you can generate this report. You can download it. It'll be a CSV file, and it will include all the information that you see on this page. And we also added a new functionality that tells you when the review actually came in, since right now it seems like there's a delay of 2 days between when the actual buyer leaves the review to when the review is actually posted on Amazon. So that's the one thing you can also take note of. So yeah, that's pretty much all I really have to say on this product side. And Sajaz will help you use this data on how you can actually improve your product on the actual supplier side.
Great. So let's go ahead and get started on part 3, using customer feedback to negotiate and improve products. So the other half of the feedback loop. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to understand your product specifications. And this is extremely important for taking that customer data that you get and transforming it back into the supply chain. So first thing that you can do is study your product. Every product has manufacturing specifications. So whether it's a bed sheet or a lamp or a charger or a water bottle, every product you own has some sort of specification. And understanding those specifications are really key to ensuring that your quality and your products are made up to par. The second point is you want to put together a specification list. So put together the specifications for your product. For fabric, for example, that might be a thread count, or you might have a drop test for durable goods. Like let's say it's a box or a kid's toy. You might drop the product on the floor and see how many times you can drop it before something breaks. Some other common items for the specification are size, thickness, material, and also some notes on the packaging. And putting together that specification list, that can be done really easily, just through some regular research, some intuition, and also you can also talk to your factory and ask them for a specification sheet. Most factories have R&D departments, and you want to make sure that you're working with factories that do have R&D departments. R&D department is a research and development department. So good factories will have quality control engineers and other types of engineers to help build a product, improve the product, and then manage production on an ongoing basis. If your factory does not have a R&D department, it might be running an amateur production line, and that is a huge issue. So this is a great way to kind of filter your factories before you even start producing with them. Moving into number 4, as kind of what Henson was talking about, you also want to be really proactive and use customer feedback from competitor products and use that to notify the suppliers of these issues in advance. So for example, let's say that you're doing a lamp. You can put in ASIN for a couple of other lamps into FeedbackWhiz and then use that to parse through all the feedback from those competitors to make sure that you avoid any issues before you even start production. So that is a huge, huge plus there. One really key way to get a lower price on your product is negotiate some type of product warranty with your suppliers. So every product, no matter where you buy it or where it's sold, for the most part, has some type of warranty. That's according to retail laws in the United States. For example, there are federal laws and also state laws for certain types of products and the warranties, the minimum warranties that must come with them. For example, if you bought a car, you might have heard of the lemon car law. Those are state and national. I think it's a state law. Each car has its own lemon car law that basically the car manufacturer has to warranty the car for X amount of time. There's also a return policy. So whether it's through Amazon or you're selling it on eBay, you might provide a return policy to your customers. Even brick and mortar, you generally have a return policy that's with a return allowance for the brick and mortar suppliers. So even if you're not calling it a product warranty, you're still kind of giving a product warranty for that return policy period. And third, whatever specified warranty you have. So if you put on your box that you're going to give a 1-year warranty or a 2-year warranty on the product and manufacturing defects, that's also considered here in the product warranty. So one key way to get your suppliers to reduce costs over time is ask your supplier to guarantee the build quality. And that can be done in a couple of ways. So first of all, you want to put together a written agreement. And just so most people are kind of under the impression that these written agreements are highly enforceable and you get a contract, get a signature. Definitely don't skimp on making sure everything is in writing. But that's more so to keep both parties, you and the supplier, on the same page. The agreement that you likely will write, especially if you're producing in China, is really unlikely to be enforceable. It's going to have to be in Chinese and English, and then you have to chop it, you have to sign it. There's a lot of legalities that go into it. You have to have a wet copy, and generally you make 2 wet copies. There's a lot of legalities that go into it, and then even enforcing the contract, that can cost hundreds and thousands of dollars of legal fees for $500 or $5,000 on a warranty order. So it doesn't really make sense to enforce it. Number 2 is have them produce, essentially what the details of the agreement would be is to have them produce additional units to make up for defective units as needed at no additional cost. And generally suppliers will agree to this as part of additional orders. So if you have 100 defective units out of your order of 5,000 on the last batch, your supplier might add an extra 100 units to your next batch. They may not just produce 100 units out of the blue for you, but they will add it to your next batch, and you can have that written in your agreement. You will still likely have to pay for packaging and shipping aside from the product, especially if packaging is sourced from an external supplier. Your supplier is unlikely to be willing to pay for that extra packaging. Additionally, to make those agreements work and to create a good feedback loop, and this is something that can be really automated through your customer service team, whether it's a one person or multiple, is set up a reporting time frame to keep your factory in the loop for bad units. And we're going to dive into that in the next few slides here on how those reports should work and what should be included in them. But those are really key. Having reporting and having a strong accountability process to keep everything data-based and monitored, that is really important to making sure that your products are improving and everything is moving smoothly, so you don't wake up or have one order with any sudden surprises and risk losing a lot of money. So that's really key. So the factory might want the defective units back. So this is a pretty common issue where factories have a general distrust of companies in the US, especially for these kind of things. So if you've ever been to China and you bought something, you might know that there's no return policy. You can buy a Bose speaker or a Apple item from the, Apple is a little bit different, but for Bose, for example, you can go to any Bose store in the United States or in Canada, you can buy a product and you can return it after 2 weeks. But in China, for example, even in Hong Kong, if you buy a product from Bose, once the sale is made, it's final, even at the Bose factory store. There is a general distrust of consumers, and it's kind of a culture based there that a lot of consumers buy items, use them, and return them and take advantage of those warranties and return policies. So factories are often very skeptical about these kind of warranties, and that's why a reporting monthly report or periodic report is really important. It adds structure to that. And additionally, the factory might want defective units back. So you can talk to your factory and charge them and have this in the written agreement that you can charge them for the customer shipping of defective units back to them if they want all of the units. And also I would recommend to build report and send a few units for free of each issue that is paid for by you for shipping, so they can analyze them to improve your quality control. And it's always recommended to be extremely transparent about the fees and costs for doing so. So for example, if returning a customer product might cost you $5 or $7, it's really recommended to be transparent about those costs to your supplier in advance so they understand where you're coming from and don't feel that you're working to cheat them or something like that. When it comes down to the reporting, so it's important to set up a constant process and stick to the process. So if you tell your supplier you're going to set up a monthly report or a bi-monthly report or a quarterly report, it's important that you do stick to those reports, because once you start following through or certain reports are missing, things like that, it creates some data holes, and also your supplier will start losing trust for you. One of the biggest things in China, it's considered professionalism. So if you say you're going to do X, Y, Z and you don't do it, it generally will create a general distrust in your operation. Small business, big business, in China, they kind of mean the same thing. So for example, in the US, if you ask somebody to do something, a small business owner, say, hey, can you send me something? They don't send the email. It's not a big deal, but it's like one guy's running the operation, that's fine. But in China, whether it's one guy or it's 5 guys, if you don't follow your word, if you put together a written agreement and you don't send those reports and things like that, they question the professionalism, so-called, of your operation, and that can create some issues. So I would set a period that is reasonable enough for you to stick to, but at the same time, it's not too overkill, and also at the same point, not too slow. So if you're doing orders every 2 months, a quarterly report may not really work out really well. And essentially what that report should consist of is, first of all, you should compile all customer feedback and reviews for your product. So whether that's seller feedback that talks about your product, or product reviews, or customer feedback that came in through the customer support email, compile all of that and assign it to a product feature or a product defect, and then assign ratings to those product features as well. So you can go ahead and have a count in the report. For example, you might say that we had 5 units that broke and snapped in half, and 4 units that were defective upon arrival. So have a count, and then have a general product feature part to that report too. And a good scale to use, so for example, a product feature might be a lamp. The lamp plugs into the wall and the light is bright. That could be a product feature. And assign a rating to all the product features, whether it's durability, function, or whatever other features you might have of your product. And the scale might be unacceptable, below expectations, and normal. This is a scale that we've seen used, and it's highly effective. It's not recommended to use a rating above normal because that is often taken as a cue by suppliers. Okay, this product is beyond expectations, and we can cut this down and cut some costs. So we highly recommend capping that off at normal so that that message doesn't come across. The third point is you want to compile and analyze customer feedback, reviews, and also returns. So we kind of touched on this in the first bullet point there, but also you want to touch base and take a look at your returns and specify the total number of units defective that they need to replace and for what reasons, and split it out. And ask your suppliers to fix all issues that are below expectations or unacceptable. And when you talk to your supplier and tell them to fix these issues or these defects, it's really important that you get some actionable steps from them. So ask them what they are doing on this order, what happened, and why it's not going to happen in the next order. Otherwise, they might just say, okay, and we'll fix it and brush it off. The second key component is also to have warranty replacements on the next order. So if you have warranty replacements, it's almost like an incentivization structure. So, similar to if you give a salesperson a bonus or a commission on a sale, it's a similar kind of compensation metric where if you are forcing them to replace units that are defective and you're giving them the reasons for those defects and those defect counts are really high, then it will also force the supplier to improve the products themselves to avoid costs, and they will start tracking and seeing the issues on their end themselves to improve their process. So once you have that done, those are some key ways to really talk with your supplier and make sure that the quality is improving over time, setting up those reports and making sure everything is moving smoothly and improving with time. Now, the fourth component to that is tracking the quality control. And that's really important. So once the quality control is in place and you are improving the product, you want to make sure that the product is actually improving and actually the customer metrics are improving as well. So first of all, why should you track quality control? The first thing is you want to ensure your production is up to specification. So the most at-risk orders right off the bat are the first orders. So when you do a first order from your supplier, the quality so much is not at risk, but more so the product itself, the function and the use, just to make sure that they got the right thing and they transferred your requirements appropriately from what you wanted, the manufacturing sample, into the production sample. That's the biggest thing. The second thing obviously comes down to quality. So quality can also be impacted, and the highest risk order for that is always the first order. Number two is repetitive orders. So especially in times of turbulence, so when we're dealing with tariffs and the suppliers under a lot of pressure to cut costs, or there's trade war, or there's political instability. For example, if you have suppliers in Hong Kong, repetitive orders can be risky. And the tricky thing with repetitive orders is that it could be sometimes as soon as the second order that you're going to see the quality drop pretty significantly, or sometimes it's the 10th order and it just happens out of the blue. And once that order comes in, you ship it, it's sent to your customers. Sometimes you will hear back right away that, hey, we're having defects right now, or you might hear back after a month or 2 months that, hey, our product is breaking and we don't know what's going on. And if you have a product that's designed to last for a long period of time, let's say like a year, for example, like a phone charger, if you start receiving defects after 6 months from your second or third batch, you're not going to know until you're quite a few months into the new orders where the suppliers change the production line or whatever, and you will really not find out about those issues until too late, and then the costs can really stack up at that point. So the best way to reduce your risk over time is a third-party inspection, and this is really what we specialize in. So I'm also coming from a point of bias, but every major company uses them, including Google, Bed Bath & Beyond, the NBA, and also what's really recommended is doing your own inspections as well upon receiving your product. So if you are shipping your products into your own warehouse, let's say in Chicago, or cross-docking it, it's highly recommended to do your own product inspections also upon receiving it if possible. Customer metrics will also provide a lot of information. So if you're tracking your customer reviews, you're tracking your customer metrics, you have database reports that you can analyze. So on a set periodic basis, whether it's monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly, or even yearly, but it's unlikely. You can track your customer metrics, how many defects you had for a certain number of units, how many sales you had, and coordinate those percentages to make sure your quality is actually improving and not going down. And once you have that on a constant feedback loop through your customer success team or customer service team, and also with your supply chain team, and that just might be your customer success team emailing your suppliers and them responding and you you're intervening as necessary. Once you have that feedback loop going around in a constant circle, that is really, really key to making sure your products are improving over time. And you actually have trackable metrics for the products. Now, when it comes to tracking your quality control on the ground in China, it's really important you build a product specification sheet. So going back to what we kind of discussed a few slides back, every product has specifications, and those specifications need to be tested, and those need to be monitored. So whether you're doing an on-the-ground inspection through a third-party inspection company, or you're doing an inspection yourself when the products are received at your warehouse through a cross-docking metric or similar, it's really important that you have a specification sheet, a set sheet to go off of that can change and improve over time, but it's a set sheet that you can refer to at any given point in time. And going into this is a sample sheet that we have for one of my products. And you'll take a look. The first two is focused on packaging and the master carton and the inner packaging. The second is focused on labeling. So this serves as a little bit of a checklist as well as a product specification sheet. So it's a little bit of a combination of both. So the inspection requirement, as you see there, that's what the inspector does. This is what they're looking for. And also it checks for those specifications to make sure that those are in line. So for example, if we go to line number 5, silicone gel viscosity tester, the inspection equipment, that is the test where you use a viscosity testing machine, and that's the specification there, adhesion 100 to 100 with a release force of 300 plus or minus 50, I believe that's grams per inch, which is accepted. So these are specifications. So you will want something like this from your factory to see what they're monitoring. And for example, if you associate a defect or a problem, let's say the product is not sticky enough, this one has an adhesive, which is number 5, then you want to make sure that 300 plus or minus 50 might be changed to 350 plus or minus 50 or 400. And once you see those changes made in the specification sheet, then you can properly track your product to make sure it's improving. And this one is a little bit more complex product than normal, but this occurs for any product, whether it's a pot or a pan, the coating on that, or even a toy. It applies to really every product. And because the material, the color, the manufacturing process, no matter how complex or how simple, every product is going to have a decent amount of complexity once you start diving into the specifications.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and for more information, please visit feedbackwhiz.com.